everybody, welcome to GMG Review. Today we're taking a look at Warhammer the Horus Heresy, Legions Imperialis, the Devastation of Tallarn, the most recent expansion for the 10mm Horus Heresy themed mass combat game produced by Games Workshop. And this was kindly sent as a complimentary review copy, and I got access to also the Devastation of Tallarn army cards, which allow for like quick army construction and reference during the course of a game, and represents the sort of like armored combat tank warfare supplement for this game. If the previous one, Titan Death, was, or sorry, the Great Slaughter, I can't remember which one was which, because one was for Horus Heresy. They're both basically the same thing, but Titan Death was themed around like the super heavy walkers of the Horus Heresy in form of the Titan Legions. This one is around tanks and tank combat. The Battle of Tallarn is a very interesting like series and sort of like moment during the Horus Heresy where these enormous tank battles are happening. To use a real world scenario, it's kind of like Kursk was in the Second World War. And features heavily the Iron Hands and the Iron Warriors going at it, as well as the Alpha Legion in a very interesting, one of my favorite roles, of course, I'm playing Alpha Legion in this game, where they're playing against both sides. They have these like little sort of like secret underground strongholds, and they're raiding both sides, trying to prolong the war for their own sort of like weird nefarious purposes. And then, of course, just the Tallarn themselves, who have these massive tank regiments, and it's a huge kind of sandy, apocalyptically damaged from all these bombs that have been dropped on it, like radioactive world where you can't live outside. So you're either living in underground bunkers or you're living inside your vehicles. And the longer the vehicles range from their depots, the more like their air filters start to break down and the people inside die. So even the Astartes are struggling to live on Tallarn, and the humans themselves are having an absolutely terrible time of it. So it's a very interesting period during the war. So it's, I think, worth having a book. Of course, standard sort of like operating procedure for these books. The first half of the book almost is the background for the story. The death of Tallarn, the fall of the Sapphire City, world death. And then we've got Legion Armored Warfare as the first section, campaign systems. And I really like this because this is a 3 or more player campaign, because you're supposed to be able to represent either the Alpha Legion, the Imperials, or the like Loyalists and the Traitors. And it's about 2 strongholds, which is where you're surviving basically on Tallarn, attacking each other. And there's multiple routes that you can go through, and every game, the routes basically move back and forth between control. And when you play the campaigns narratively, there's also settings as to where you are in the world. You could be up in the mountains near a crashed starship. You could be in these like sort of like more radioactive ruins, or you could be in kind of a safe area where the fog of war rules for this game don't affect you as badly, where you can just get like destroyed by all the radiation and stuff like that. Then we got our new formations and attachments, as well as some formations of legend themed to the specific factions that are sort of like taking place here in the war. As this is a specialist studio book, we'd expect no less than it to be very, very pretty. And they use tons of the 28mm miniatures for the Horus Heresy and their photography to make these great matte backgrounds. I do love the layout and the style for the books that they've done in this game in particular. They just did a really good job making all of these like little back scenes and stuff like that. All of these photography setups that they've done like matted and dropped down into like grayscale for the backdrops just really make the books high quality, which you want for the price tag that Workshop wants for these books, right? Even this rasterized one is just fantastic. Map of the area, so the Sapphire City that was destroyed. And then we have the sort of like background for the forces of the War Master and the forces of the Emperor that are on the planet. So for the Iron Warriors, you've got Hexad Themata. It's a bunch of Grand Battalions. The Sevenate Taxiarchia of the Iron Warriors. The Galabet Oathsworn, who are Solar Auxilia. The Takmata Sibrids, the Forge World. Order Reductor Covenant Belial. Household Lock of the Questoris House Caesarean, who become very, very put out by the Imperials. And then we have the Legio Kratos and Alpha Legion Sparatoi Infiltrator False Flag Imperialis Auxilia units. An indeterminate number. We don't know how many are there. And then the forces of the Emperor. We got 3 cohorts of the Tallarn Reborn, the Cassian Linebreakers, the armor divisions from across a bunch of different Auxilias regiments. There's approximately 2 million auxiliaries. The White Scars Brother to the Forsworn, the Tagmata Zelf, the Empyrean Coursers of Free Blade Company, and then the Iron Hands clad in terminal stages only. The Imperial Fists in terminal stages only, and then the Inuit Phalangites 92nd in terminal legions only. So basically at the end of the war when they come to relieve them. So yeah, and then 2 manacles of the Legio Griffonicus, which also show up, the War Griffins. So I love that this is like well laid out and documented, and it backs up all of the stuff in the actual like novels and stuff. So Legion Armored Warfare is basically a treatise on how they would fight using tanks, and then the Imperialis campaign with the key concepts as a campaign master. You play 6 campaign cycles, and as I said before, you're typically going to have a pool of units that you can draw from, and you start out all holding route A, B, and C in the middle, and the more games get played, you can see the routes start to fall into enemy hands, and then the strongholds start to take damage as you do stronghold attack missions. And there's breach the stronghold missions that are actually like laid out where there's a gate and stuff like that. The perimeter wall has rules, and you can like blow them up. And then we have all of the bespoke sort of missions for playing through. What is included in here, which I like a lot, on top of these Spearhead Clash objectives and the secondaries for them, is we get battle honors. We get a campaign system where you can actually learn skills, get abilities, and sort of like enhance your units if they survive. They don't go too far into this. You get 3 battle honors for walkers, 3 for infantry, 3 for cavalry, 3 for vehicles and super heavies, and 3 for knights. And the reason for that is stuff dies in this game. Like, don't get too attached. Earning a battle honor is going to be a big deal. And yeah, and the ones that might live more often are probably going to be the Titans, but they didn't do too many battle honors because, like, especially infantry in this game are just gonna die. We have our formations of legend. So in this case, we have an Iron Hands, Seeker, Killer, Clave, Ultor, and each of these is designed to just kind of showcase the new miniatures they're releasing. So this one, for instance, is all the Psycharans with the sabers, new miniatures for the sabers, and you take it at 450 points, where it's got 4 Psycharans. 4 Psycharans is the 2 cores, and then 4 sabers. Their special rules is Sons of Ferrus Manus, has to be Iron Hands, and Seeker Killers. This formation of the Macro Extinction Targeting Protocol special rule. And so you can enhance it if you want. So it starts at 450. For 270 points, you can add an additional 4 Psycharans and 4 Sabers. Then the Iron Warriors won the Proximois Macro Assault Wing. It's all Terminators, baby. It's 6 Spartans, 3 Kratoses, and then, just 30 Terminators. No big deal. And the goal here, obviously, is that there's just like a huge assault detachment. They've got the Hammerblow Assault. Legion Terminator models from this formation increase their cap by 2 during any round in which they disembark from a Spartan. Because the idea is they're shock and awing you. And it starts at 400, and for 400, you can add the Kratoses and the extra detachment Terminators. So Terminators, basically, this top half is what you start with for 400, and you add this bottom half to the other 400. And then my favorite, because I'm going to probably build this, the Alpha Legion Hero Group Arcadis, formally identified via the assistance of Cloud Vanus info sites. I think this book was actually where the Cloud Vanus was introduced, or Vanus, I'd say Vanus, whatever, it doesn't matter. They're basically like the tech war assassins, which is an interesting house. But they start off with Psycharan Punishers, so these like Punisher cannon Psycharans, and their support detachment is 20 guys with plasma guns, all in Spartans. Sorry, in Land Raiders, sorry, not Spartans. And they have to take them. And then you can add for an additional 300 points. It starts at 630. For another 300 points, you can add some sabers and another bunch of plasma guns inside Land Raiders, inside Proteuses. So 8 Proteuses, 8 Punisher Psycharans, and 4 Legion Sabers, like an Outrider detachment. And their special rules are they have outflank and scout automatically, which is super handy for getting across the table in this game. The Auxilia get the Carmine Ambush Tercio. So to showcase all the new Russes in the Russ kit, you get a trio basically of Russ squadrons. So 1 of Vanquishers, 1 of Annihilators, 1 of Executioners. And if you want to add on for extra 100 points, you get 2 units of Heavy Sentinels. So not a lot new there, but that cool new miniatures. And then you've got the Thyreos Siegebreaker Company, which is 3 Storm Swords, and then 2 units of Basilisks and Medusas. So it's basically like an artillery company. And you can expand it for 400 more points with Auxilia Storm Swords and Basilisks. So it's basically like a Siegebreaker unit. Now, however, they are the Despoilers of Tallarn, so they can only be used inside Armies of the Traitor Allegiance, and the Tallarn Reborn can only be used inside the Loyalist Legions. The Carmine get 4 deployment and scout on the Russes. The Thyreos get an Auxilia Medusa battery or Auxilia Basilisk battery detachment from this formation is within 2 of the Storm Swords. Each time a hit scored against Auxilia Medusa batteries, or they can be put onto unless it has barrage or heavy, you can allocate to the Storm Sword instead. So your super kind of like easy to kill Auxilia Basilisks and Medusas can be intercepted by the Storm Swords because they're just kind of like there to like protect them and guard them in the game. Then we get our new detachments. There's one in here in particular that I really love, but basically it's the new stuff that we've already talked about here. You get the heavy assault spearhead and subterranean assault. Heavy assault spearhead is terminators. So you have to take terminators and then support that have to be dreadnoughts for your core, your compulsory. And then you can add battle tank, air support, heavy armor. All of them have to be put into dedicated transport. So your terminators have to ride, and then heavy assault. Support detachments can only be filled with Legion Dreadnought Talon, Legion Terminators, or Leviathans. So you could just have 16 Land Raiders or Spartans with, what would it be? It would be like 40 Terminators if you want. And then you can add stuff as the optional attachments on top of that. The Subterranean Assault uses the new Termites. Hell yeah, Termites are back. This is my favorite thing right here. They get the Subterranean Assault special rule. They have to have Legion Termites as dedicated transports. And then they deep strike. After placing and scattering the initial model, roll a d6 for every enemy detachment with a scale 2 or less. It's within 6 of that model. On a 5+, they suffer the effects of the Quake trait as if hit was scored by the weapon with this trait. Because you're bursting up out of the ground like the Technodrome sending out Mausers and Ninja Turtles. Compulsories in HQ, support, and 2 core. Just it's a Legion tacticals basically. And then your optionals are support, core, but everybody has to be riding. And this is our new units. So Psycherans, they have Punishers. The big difference here is the rotary cannon, 12-inch range, 4 dice on 4+ with a -1, but it's light AT. So it loses its -1 against things that are tanks, and has rapid fire, so 6 explode. Then the Psycheran Arcus has the Arcus missile launcher. It's a 16 or 20, and you get basically a Skyfire or a Ripple Fire special rule. The Ripple Fire special rule, I should just pull up the section with all the new special rules in here. I think they put them in the back, didn't they? I could be wrong. I might have to grab the rule book. But I thought that any of the new rules were showcased in the back of this section. I could just be wrong. That's fine. The idea is it has 2 fire modes, basically. One's supposed to be like anti-infantry, the other one's anti-plane. And 16-inch range with 2 shots on 4s, or 20-inch range with 2 shots on 5s, but it's Skyfire, so it ignores the -1 for shooting vehicles, and it also has tracking. And then light armors, these are the Sabers, the little tanks. They're kind of neat. They have a 4+ save, so they're kind of squishy, and only a single wound. They're mounted with either a neutron blaster, I just like saying neutron blaster, I don't know why, or a mounted Anvilus autocannon. The Anvilus autocannon's 3 shots on 5s, AP -1, but only light AT. And then the neutron blaster is 12-inch range, 4+ -3 anti-tank shock pulse. So it loses the AP against infantry, but it's really good against vehicles. And they have nimble. And then we have the termites. Yep, they can move afterwards. They can crawl around, 5 inches, which I love. 4+ save, cap +1, 3+ morale. There's twin link bolters on them, but they transport 2 in the deep strike. I'm just so excited to drive around termites. I think it's so cool. And then you get your new auxiliary formation. So the Solar Auxiliary Titan Hunters. Basically, when you fire your volcano cannons on first fire orders of the Titan detachments, you gain accurates. You get to reroll the hits. But you have to have 3 Shadow Swords, or 3 units of Shadow Swords, and then 2 other optional heavy detachments you can take. You get a tank commander model for 10 points. And then a Russ Spearhead, it has to be 3 units of Russes as your compulsories. And then it's light armor, battle tank, heavy armor, air support. They can take a tank commander for 10. And then Leman Russ slots in this formation have to be filled with either Strike, Executioner, Demolisher, Annihilator, or Exterminator squadrons. And what they've done basically is they've taken the Russ squadron from the rulebook and broken it into each of its types. But that's why they're saying that there, is you can't take the one from the core rulebook. It has to be one of these. And so there they are, the Shadow Swords. They've got their volcano cannons. I still can't kind of get over them only having 2 wounds. I feel like the Baneblades in this game should have 3 wounds. If the Malcadors have 2, these should have 3. I don't know. It just bothers me that they don't. They're Engine Killer 2, 70-inch range. Obviously, they're designed to kill Titans. And then the Storm Sword. This is the one where you've got a Shadow Sword who's been wrecked, and they've salvaged the chassis. But because they can't make the volcano cannons again, because they're not tech priests, they just slap a giant gun on it and make it into a siege vehicle. It's got the Storm Sword siege cannon. So it's Demolisher, ignores cover. And it's 3+ -2 with 1 die. So it's like a stripped down version of a Shadow Sword that's designed to blow up buildings and attack things in buildings. Then you can take an Auxiliary Stormblade. This is my favorite. I actually have this old resin kit in 28mm that I should paint for my Solar Auxiliary Force. And it's got a Plasma Blast gun, 2 shots. It's got 3+ to hit with -3. So it's more of a like killer. They've all got Chain of Command and Explorer. And then you got your Leman Russ Executioners. These are the ones with the Executioner plasma cannons. They're the big plasma cannon, 12-inch range, 2 dice, 4 plus -1, but light AT. And then the Demolishers. Oh, man, these are such great tanks. 2+ save, 1 wound, but they're so cheap for how resilient they are. This game has almost no AP in it, so it's pretty great. The Demolishers, so Demolisher and Recover, short range, but -3 AP. Then the Annihilators, they've got the Twin Las Cannons. So Annihilator Twin Las Cannon, 22-inch range, accurate anti-tank, 4+ with -1. And the Exterminator, which has 16-inch range with 3 dice on 5+, AP -1, but light AT. Those are your anti-infantry tanks. And then we get separate tank commander profiles for the Astartes. As opposed to upgrading a model in them, you can spend the points to actually buy a character tank. So we get one for the Predators, one for the Psycharans. The Psycharan can be Accelerator Automatic Cannon, Omega Plasma Ray, or the new Punisher Rotary Cannon. The Kratos can also have the Melted Blast Gun or the Battle Cannon. And they all get Master Tactician, which is great. And that's it. Those are our new units. So that is the Devastation of Tallarn, the new expansion for Legions Imperialis, along with a very cool new campaign system for playing basically attacker defender missions. I like what they're doing with these books. Obviously they're going wide and increasing the unit count, and they're doubling it with a release of like a wave of boxes. So you're getting themed expansions along with a themed book. But I like that the majority of this book isn't just new units. It's new ways to play the game. It's new ways to like interact with playing this game, because this is not a tournament game. It's a historical game. It's designed to reenact evocative set pieces, where to do it in 28mm would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you're going to do it in a smaller scale instead, and have a more sort of like slow-paced, like campaign-driven narrative sort of experience versus like a frenetic stand in circles, push buttons, draw cards, see what you're trying to do this turn kind of experience that modern wargaming has kind of turned into. So I appreciate this, because these books are coming out at a pace that I like to collect games in this scale and paint them. And every time one of these books comes out, we basically get to play some games. So we played some Titan Death games. We'll get to play some campaign-style Spearhead games now with tanks. And I think that they've kept a good pace with this. So I'm really happy with the Imperial stuff as it comes out. The models are great. And we're getting like a new sort of gameplay format every time one of these books gets released. Yeah, I think this is one of the best sort of like paced things coming out from Workshop right now, because the time in between them is enough that I get to enjoy the game for a minute. It's like Necromunda. I get to enjoy the game for a while as it's currently standing and catch up to it. So when something new comes out, I don't feel like it's left me behind. That's the pace I like my war games to come out at. I don't need a new thing literally every single week, and I don't need to like be working on my army for 6 months, and when I come back it doesn't work the way it's supposed to anymore. So I really like this. I'm super happy they keep doing these releases in this format, because it's something to do with the things that you're excited to paint when they come out, right? So I think it's just a good way of doing it. So there it is. GMG reviews The Devastation of Tallarn. Big thanks for watching. Big thanks for Workshop sending along this complimentary review copy. Next time, Ash.